direction, sets the stage to turn the page. At the raising of the curtain, I am hurting and uncertain of the parts that we have played. Why must the show go on? I can't say these lines again. Why must the show go on? Must I sing this song again? Fading out of the close-up, everybody's reeling, no concealing. Your beauty is seed stealing. Violins are singing, sunset's waiting, radiating. Your entrance is breathtaking. Why must the show go on? I can't say these lines again. Why must the show go on? Must I sing this song again?
Hello, everybody. Drew here from Four Wall, a balder Drew. First off, it feels good to be back. We took a couple weeks off for Thanksgiving. Shaved my head with myself and some cousins and family members of and friends of my mom, who's currently battling stage 4 cancer. So we decided she shaved her head and we decided to shave ours to join her in her journey. And it was great to see her. And Mom, if you're watching, I love you. And we'll rub our heads together. Today, I'm excited about episode 26, Life in Sales. I'm joined once again by my co-host, Jeff Coiter. I had that intro down really good. And now we take 2 weeks off, and I'm totally like,
I know the rust, but that's okay. We always sort of on the edge of like, maybe doing a great job and maybe falling off a little bit. Your hair or lack of hair, you look great.
Thank you.
So you're well done. If I did that, I don't think I could sport it quite as well as you are. So I'm glad to hear your mom is doing well, and I'm glad you spent Thanksgiving. The whole family was up for Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was like a small amount of us that kind of went out there. Obviously we didn't want. Even if it wasn't COVID, we kind of trying to keep the crowds around her, visitors at least down. But she wanted us there, and I surprised her with my new haircut.
I'm sure she appreciates it. Yeah. I know I would. Well, good for you. You're a great son.
Thank you.
And I know you're a great father too. Your kids are very lucky. So right. This isn't a show about Drew. Well, it could be. We should do a show about Drew sometime.
Yeah.
Speaking of rust, first of all, yes, we're like less than 3 weeks of Christmas. Last week was the Cyber Monday, Black Friday, and I bought one of those dimmers that you can control by speaking to it, a Wi-Fi dimmer through Alexa. And I found myself standing in my kitchen the other day saying, Alexa at 40, at 30, at 25, at 40. And I'm like standing there like, well, I'm in tech. Like the rust that's how I'm going to keep my rust off, by setting levels on my string lights on my deck.
Wow.
It's going to be something.
Yeah. I mean, we only have 2 more episodes left until until the
Yeah.
end of the year, which is crazy. And we started this in May, and yeah, it's going by quick.
Need to get back to work. Well, there's a vaccine, so I think there's going to be an obstacle, of course, to get there, because of course it's getting worse before it gets better. But there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Little
Definitely
lighting metaphor. We have another exciting, great group joining us today. Another of those of the people with the unheralded backbone of the people in our industry. They who work for companies that have been creating and innovating for decades. They have their finger on the pulse of this business more than most do, and often do not get enough credit for what they do or how important they are. Before we bring them on, though, we have, as we often do, a special guest. And this time our special guest is also a guest on the panel. A moment ago, I think I tried, maybe I said that they don't often get enough credit. I'm happy to say that in this case, the credit was appropriately given. The Wally Russell Lifetime Achievement Award was created in 1992 to celebrate the vision and life of Wally Russell, who was a leader and innovator, and is presented annually to someone who has, during their career, made an outstanding contribution to the entertainment industry. I am happy to introduce Gary Fales of City Theatrical, winner of the 2020 Wally Russell Award. Gary, thank you for being here, and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Thanks, Drew. Thank you very much, guys.
Not a problem.
How do you feel about it? I mean, it's a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, it's a humbling thing when you look at the other people who've won the award, and I look at that list of people, and they're just incredible, and they're people that I know and have worked with over the years and respected tremendously and have looked up to my entire long career. I've looked up to these people, and I think about them and what they've done, and the people who have come before me, and the people who were helpful and kind to me in my early years of my career, and really right up until the present day. But so many of them, the previous winners, were important to me personally, and were either certainly colleagues, but also many of them became personal friends and inspirations to me over the years. And some of the names on there are, to be included on that list with them is just really, really humbling. And so many of them did so much for me over the years.
Yeah.
Frank DeBerna was my boss at 4-Star Lighting.
Sure.
I worked with him for many years, and people like Sonny Sonnenfeld, who I think I was Sonny's last client for his last 5 years or so. We worked very, very closely together. And of course, Fred Foster.
Sure.
Just what he did for me and my company when we were starting out, and the help he gave us over the years, and the close relationship we built with ETC over the years was priceless. And of course, Steve Terry, my oldest friend in show business. Not that he's that old, but we started working together nearly 50 years ago when we were teenagers, and we both among our first jobs together were together when we were on the road as teenagers, and he's been a lifelong friend. And Dave Higgins, and great businessman and a close friend of mine. So many of the people on here were so inspirational to me. It's hard to see myself on this list with them, but I'm certainly happy to get the award.
Well deserved, and you, I'm sure, are an inspiration to a whole other group of people coming up. I will say that you've always been great to me, and I know that I wouldn't be where I am without you and the innovation that your company brings to the business. I don't think you can walk into a theater. I don't think you can walk into a theater anywhere without seeing something from your company, from City Theatrical. So congratulations, really well deserved and well earned.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it very much.
No problem.
So, and we have guests here tonight that we can say the same thing about many of them and their companies, that you don't walk into a theater without seeing something from City Theatrical, Roscoe, ARRI, and ETC, and High End. So I think we should bring him in, Drew, and
Definitely.
Let's get going.
Well, regional sales manager for the lighting division for ARRI is Jane Rein.
Please.
Hello, Jane.
Hello. Congratulations, Gary. It is very well earned and very
Thanks, Jane. Thank you.
And next is Vice President Global Live Entertainment Market for Roscoe, Chad Tiller. Hey, Chad.
I'm also a Gary Fales fan. Congratulations, Gary.
Excellent, Chad.
And last and certainly not least, VP of Global Sales for ETC and High-End Systems, Mark Vassallo. Mark.
Thank you very much. But Gary, you understated everything. You are an absolute genius. You created very many things that are very, very valuable in the theater world.
Very true.
A genius. A genius.
Thanks.
I'm glad we're able to do this. There is normally a reception for the Wally Russell Award, and I assume this year they didn't do that. Is that right? Or
well, it was canceled, but I found out after that my wife and kids were going to sneak in and be there, and I would have broken down and turned into blubber on the podium. So I'm kind of glad there was no real ceremony for it. But I've gotten plenty of recognition. I don't feel I've lost anything.
I'm sure
that's at LDI, right?
It's at USITT.
That's right, USITT, right.
I'm sure there will still be, when we're all back together, a way to celebrate for you. I have no doubt someone will put it together, or we will.
I think this is it. And this is plenty. Thank you very much.
I'm sure this is one step along the way. All right, let's dive in. So let's start. Mark, let's start with you, Mark. We're going to be taking a deeper dive over the next hour, but to kick us off, can you briefly describe what you do and where you do it?
Okay, I'm VP of Global Sales for ETC, and our factory is in Middleton, Wisconsin. I'm in my condo in Madison, Wisconsin. I've been stuck here since March. I made a trip to High-End to Austin, Texas in March, and have not been on a plane since. I've been sitting here with my two kids gaming in their bedrooms.
Nice.
COVID works for them.
Sure.
Gamers, COVID works.
I'm sure it works for some people. Jane, how about you?
My title is Regional Sales Manager with ARRI. I am with the lighting division. Normally, I am based out of Central New Jersey.
Chad.
My name is Chad Tiller. I am the Vice President of Global Live Entertainment for Roscoe. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the sales guy, right? Like I've always been running around causing trouble for Roscoe, and I now have an ability to take what we learn from our customers and apply it to some of the work that the product managers do, some of the work the marketing team does. So I'm a little bit of everything for theater and live entertainment for Roscoe.
And Gary, what do you do for City
Gary
Theatrical?
Fales. I am the founder and president of City Theatrical, and our factory is in Carlstadt, New Jersey. We have an office in London. I manage the company. I participate in every nook and cranny of things we do every day. I'm an active manager.
Inventor.
An inventor, yes. I participate. Lots of product development.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we will. Gary, let's stick with you. What was your first job in the entertainment industry? It's the entertainment lighting is the only thing I have ever done in my working life. I dropped out of college. I went to Columbia. I dropped out after a year and a half, and by chance I got a job working on a movie in New York with Alan Funt, and worked there briefly, and then I got a job with Dance Theater of Harlem, a touring ballet company, and went on the road with them for 5 years, and then kept going on the road, and spent another 5 years on the road, and that's how I started. Though I started touring, I got my training on the road. I never worked in theater or went to college and studied theater or engineering. Totally learned by working in theaters and working on shows and traveling and working on Broadway. That's awesome.
Great way to do it.
Yeah.
Me?
Yep, you're up.
I went to a small college in New Jersey, William Patterson. We called it Bill on the Hill. Studied theater there. Did summer stock, coach light dinner theater with the Mafia running that. I also went to Lester Polikoff's studio, took design classes there, worked at Hyde Park Festival. Then I got a job at American Academy of Dramatic Arts as a lighting designer. worked for Joe Papp at the Public Theater as an electrician. And then I was production electrician at Juilliard School. And I bought a Strand lighting console from Sonny Sonnenfeld. And then I went into the manufacturing rep business after buying the console from Sonny. Small world.
So far, Sonny's come up twice. We'll see how many times.
It's all about Sunny.
And Jane?
Does picking up dog poop at a dog show when I was 7 count?
Showbiz.
You want it to count?
Absolutely. It's showbiz.
It's showbiz.
When I was younger, I was going to be an artist. When I grew up, I went to school for liberal arts. I ended up in the photographic world, and after getting an MFA in photography, I decided I really didn't like teaching photography, and I didn't like running the photo facilities at colleges. And I ended up working for Chimera, just through chance. Came on a holiday to Boulder, Colorado, where Chimera is located. And the night before I was leaving, somebody took me out for a lot of drinks and was like, "Oh, my friend Eileen is in Colorado, and with Chimera, and they're hiring." So I put on my sundress and flip flops and drove my sister's VW van to an interview and got a job.
Wow. And nice orbiter back there. We brought it up prior to the show, but just give a shout out.
Orbiter. Thank you.
And Chad, how about you?
Yeah, I was really fortunate I started my collegiate career at University of Georgia, and go Dogs. And then I ended my career, I transferred over to Abilene Christian University, which is a tiny school in West Texas that has a really robust theater program. And I was really fortunate to do a little bit of everything there. And so when I graduated, moved to the Dallas area, I did a little bit of everything in Dallas. I was an actor, earning equity points. I was a lighting designer, a scenic designer. I directed, I produced, started 2 different theater companies, one of which is still around. And I kind of did a little bit of all of it, but I needed a day job to support that theater habit. And my day job was working at a theatrical supply house in Dallas called Norcostco. A lot of people know Norcostco. They're a big catalog company and do a lot of costume rental. And I was on the tech side, selling all of the products that all of these companies make and made, and developed relationships not only with people at City Theatrical, people with ETC, but also people with Roscoe. And when it was time for my wife and I to move to New York so that she could pursue a graduate degree, I reached out to Roscoe, and they were able to find a position and brought me on board. And that was 13 years ago. It's been a great ride ever since.
That's
great.
awesome.
Chad just answered like the next 5 questions, so we might have to skip through.
It's all right.
It's okay.
Plenty to talk about.
Yeah. Well, so Chad, but let's stick with you. So how did you begin working in sales? So, I mean, other than needing a job, what was it about that you're
I guess I've always kind of been a salesman, right? When I was a kid, we had a maple tree in our yard, and I was the kindergartner who would go door to door selling maple seeds that I picked up in the front yard. And I sold them for $0.05 a piece, and I was delighted when I came home with a pocket full of change. Now, hindsight tells me they might have been that was a cute little kid selling maple seeds, and I'm going to give him $0.05, get him to go away. But I always enjoyed selling things. I always enjoyed, when we did fundraisers for school trips or things like that, I would be the guy, working the bake sale, and I always enjoyed it. So when I needed a job to, like I said, to keep me afloat when I was a young single theater practitioner, falling into sales made a lot of sense. And the acting training that I had allowed me to basically talk to anybody. I've never been known to be quiet. And so it's been pretty easy for me to transition into sales. At some point, I realized that I enjoyed it more than being a struggling actor. And that quality of life meant a lot to me. So I stuck with it.
And Gary, how about you? Did you think you would always be doing this? Was it your plan to start a company when you first started working in the theater?
It was. I always liked having companies. I was always an entrepreneur. I always had ways to make money. I was always the guy who would hire the crew and rent the equipment. And if a designer needed something done, I would figure out how to do it. So I always had a way of making money as an entrepreneur in show business. And then I got the urge to have a shop. I had a shop down on Avenue D on the Lower East Side, on the 5th floor of a building, scenic shop. That was the first city theatrical. And then I always liked to make things, and I always could I wouldn't call it wheeling and dealing, but I always could do things that could make money in show business. And I enjoyed that. I never thought of myself as a salesman. I always thought of myself as an entrepreneur who could find ways to do things that needed to be done or create things that needed to be created. And always wanted to have a company to be able to facilitate that. That was really my goal and my dream always when I was young. And then that's what I did.
Yeah, cool. And still do. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I was lucky. I got hired by Sonny Sonnenfeld, who's like the Willy Loman of sales, the original lighting person. He started with Strand after World War II in 1945. He became a salesman with Strand. And I was lucky enough, he hired me. I was his first sales employee. He brought out his old Rolodex, and in fact, I still have it on my desk, and he gave me the names of these people to call on, these electrical engineers. So I went calling on all these buildings, like in the 30s, the West 40s, and half of them had passed away like 10 years ago. So that was my was my first delve into sales for Sonny, giving me his old leads. So then I started calling on the rental companies and Production Arts and Bash, and from there went straight up. It was great. It was a lot of fun. I had aptitude for sales. I was always pretty good at sales. The same stories, like, winning the newspaper, selling the most newspapers and getting a prize for that and that type of thing. And with Sonny's training, it was invaluable.
We should probably have a drinking game that anytime anyone mentions Sonny,
I know, I'm sorry.
I mean, everyone, Sonny touched me as well. I mean, I think he's a great guy, and I met him, fortunate enough to meet him towards the end of his career. And he gave me some great advice that we're not going to go into right now. But the end of his career, it kept going and going. It did. He thought he would retire at 70 or 80, and he ended up living to be 93 years old. And working.
And working.
And starting a new company, selling something the whole time.
Exactly.
Jane, how about you?
Growing up, there was nothing that ever made me think I was going to be a salesperson. I was always going to be an artist or a doctor. When I ended up at Chimera, I realized that I really, really enjoyed it. It's less selling, and it's more about solving problems, and it's about meeting people's, what the tools they need to make their vision happen. And I really enjoy that part of it. And so it's, I never thought I was going to be a salesperson. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad Eileen took the risk on me. I'm glad that I've had a lot of opportunities. But I did not think I was going to be a salesperson.
Yeah. So Jane, let's stay with you. So you work for ARRI. It says it on your shirt, so I know it's true. So can you tell us, first of all, what ARRI does and what ARRI is and what ARRI sells, and what do you do there and how you ended up where you are at ARRI and doing what you're doing at ARRI? All these questions. Go.
So ARRI is, we are a multinational company. We're very prominent in the film video world. We manufacture lighting, cameras. There's other divisions as well, broadcast division. My personal sphere within ARRI is within the lighting world, within the U.S. lighting world. How did I get here? So I was in Colorado. I moved to New York. I was working as an outside rep for Chimera and Wolfram HMI lights and Dynalight strobes. And once again, it was over one of those meals. I was having lunch with the late, great Fred Horn, and he mentioned that he was leaving, and he thought that his position would be a really good fit for my ex. And I said, what about me?
Yeah.
You're happy. And I said, I can be happier. And I was very fortunate and got the job. So.
Well, congratulations. Mark, how about
Yes.
you?
Well, how did I get to ETC?
And I guess what is ETC? What is ETC? What does ETC do for people who don't know?
ETC manufactures LEDs, consoles, rigging, architectural control, all kinds of things. Our main factory's here in Middleton. We also have factories all around the world and sales offices all around the world. But our main business mostly have turned into LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really big part of our revenue.
Yeah.
But I got there, I was working for Sunny. Sunny switched from Strand to Colortran, and Bill Gallinghouse came. I brought him in because he worked at Juilliard too, and we were not happy with that company that much. So we ended up, Steve Terry set up a thing or called Fred Foster, so we hooked up with ETC and also Lighting Methods for dimming, and we became the reps for those companies separately. And then we talked Fred into buying Lighting Methods from Al Pfeiffer in 1990. And then Bill Gallinghouse went out to Wisconsin. I stayed in New York to help run the sales there still. So that's how we got hooked up around 1988. We became the rep. 1990, I went to go, or 91, I went to go work at the factory. I've been here 29 years in Wisconsin.
And what is your title? What do you?
Vice President of Global Sales. So I'm in charge of all the revenue of all the sales offices, and I set the revenue every year. And when I first started, we were at $2 to $3 million in sales, and now we're approaching $300 million in sales. So
amazing.
It's been amazing.
You mentioned a lot of names, and we don't have time to go into who those people are. But if people are watching and don't know those names, Google all of them. We're all where we are right now because of them.
Right.
Pay some homage there. Chad, how about you?
Yeah, so Roscoe has been around since 1910, 110 years of color and light. Really, the brand of Roscoe, people know us for gel and gobos. When I started with Roscoe, my mom needed a nice, succinct way to describe what I did to her friends. And I said, well, lighting designers take a white pool of light and make it more interesting with color, texture, and movement. I work for a company that makes color, texture, and movement. And that was the nice summary. But of course, in the years since, we've diversified, and we also are bringing in a lot of revenue through LEDs. And we've got a bright future ahead of us as far as continuing our position as being thought leaders in colored lighting for the entertainment industries.
Bright future. Lighting joke.
Pun fully intended. I was happy to illuminate you with that one.
Nice.
Gary, how about you? Gary, how did you end up starting City Theatrical? Where did that begin?
I worked at 4-Star Lighting, and I was the Local 1 apprentice there. I became a member of Local 1, and I worked there for quite a while. And we made lighting accessories, and they taught me how to make lighting accessories, and we made them for all the shows. And Frank DeBerna was the owner, a really, really sharp businessman. And I said, Frank, why don't we become manufacturers of lighting accessories and sell them? And because they were a rental house. And I said, you can rent all the stuff, plus you can sell all this stuff too. He said, nah, I don't want to do that. And I said, how about you rent me some space in the basement, and I will buy all the machinery, and I'll set up the business, and then we'll work together on it. He went, nah, don't want to do that. So I drove around the South Bronx, and I found a little building near 4-Star, and I rented it. And I went out to an auction, and I bought all the machinery that we had at 4-Star at an auction, and I duplicated the shop I worked in there, and I set up the same shop that we had at 4-Star and started making lighting accessories. And of course, now 4-Star became my first customer because I wasn't there anymore and nobody else could make the stuff.
Amazing.
So that was it. And then I started making lighting accessories for all the shows, all the manufacturers everywhere, because no one else really had any interest in it. And no one really does now either. There really isn't, it's not a huge market, but we created the market and became specialists in lighting accessories. But, I always pictured teaming up with 4-Star and doing this together.
Sure.
But, Frank didn't want to do it, so I just did it myself.
It's probably a good thing. You wouldn't
Yeah.
there are no more. And so you would be somewhere else, owned by someone else. And now you're your own company. What I will say, one of the great things about Theatrical in particular, but all these companies, is that as a designer, and I know electricians would say the same thing, if there's a need, we have a place to go. And so, it fills that gap. So,
and that's, of course, where I met you and all the designers, was working on Broadway and working with you guys and listening to you and building the things that you needed. And that is my entire business. It always has been.
The one thing Jane mentioned earlier, I just want to interject, is that it isn't selling as like in door-to-door selling or selling vacuums. It's really consultative, right? It's consultative selling. You're solving problems for the lighting people. That's why you're still involved with lighting design and working with lighting designers, because you're creating solutions for people. Yeah. And that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah. So that's my opportunity to tell my Sonny Sonnenfeld story. Sonny would always say,
5 times.
Listen to your customers and then do something about it. Right? It was not just listening. It was listening and doing something about it. And, as a very young salesperson who moved to New York from Texas and knew nobody, I met Sonny the first week I was on the job, and he pulled me aside and said, so you're new with Roscoe. And he talked to me a little bit about, tell me what you're doing. And that was the message I walked away from. Listen to your customers and do something about it.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with that.
The way I characterize that, Mark, is to be a trusted advisor. So I serve that role for designers and electricians and company owners. They trust me to help them make the decisions about what to do. And, there is no better role in sales than to fill that role.
You solve a lot of problems for very famous designers.
And some not so.
And not so famous.
He said, Gary solved a problem for me 20-something years ago before anyone knew who I was. So thanks.
All right. Well, let's go on a little time machine back in time to pre-COVID. And Jane, I'll go to you. Can you just tell us about your typical workday pre-COVID and just kind of a deeper dive into your day-to-day duties for your job?
Yeah. So one of the great things about this job is there is no typical day. The primary responsibilities is obviously to connect people with the correct equipment. But that could involve being in Boston. It could be in Chicago. It could be in New York City. It's often, from, my desk in Blauvelt, New York, or my desk in New Jersey. So it's one of my primary responsibilities is to coordinate our reseller program. So there's a lot of follow-up on that. There's a lot of paperwork on that. There's a lot of outreach to customers and just making sure that, what they have is what they need and vice versa, and how are we fitting their needs. So there is no typical day. It's always
Yeah.
And Chad, how about you?
Yeah, I can't echo that enough. There is no normal day for a salesperson. We with Roscoe, we dive into the film, TV industry, the broadcast industry, live entertainment and theater, special events, architectural lighting. When you're a boots on the ground salesperson, there were days where I was going to an architect's office in the morning, a tech table midday, a film set that afternoon, and then visiting the broadcast studio right before they went live for their evening news. And you just have to be able to style flex and move that direction. As I moved into the global vice president position, obviously there's a lot more meetings, there's a lot more paperwork, there's a lot more have-tos, but of the sort of corporate and not so fun part of the life. But the best part of my career, the best part of my job pre-COVID was getting out in the field, talking with our customers, listening to them, doing something about it. And I have not been face-to-face, belly-to-belly with a customer since February, early March, which screen to screen just isn't quite the same. We do our best, but it's I miss talking to people. It's nice talking to all of you. And I never thought I'd say it, but I miss travel and I miss trade shows.
More on that later too.
Yep, definitely. And Mark, has it kind of changed over the years for you, or what's your?
Well, I'm in the corporate, so same thing that Chad was saying. So I'm having meetings to talk about some of the other companies that we own. And then I break off and meet with my sales managers all around the world. So meet with Asia, meet with the Europeans. So it's constant being on video all the time, from 6:30 in the morning to sometimes 9 o'clock at night, depending which group you're talking to. And a lot of it's also solving problems, making sure we have enough inventory and helping customers when there are problems. So it's like problem solving. That's a big part of the job.
Yeah, definitely. And Gary, as president, is it something different for you, your day-to-day pre-COVID, Zoom meeting every day?
It's not that much different now, actually, because we're working in the factory. Everybody works in the factory, but certainly pre-COVID and not too much different. But I'm an early bird. I'm in at my desk by 6 a.m. every day, and if I am particularly inspired by something I'm doing, I'll be in at 5:30 or 5:15. And I work with every department every day. I participate in the daily department meetings and in sales, in manufacturing, in finance, in product development and engineering. And I meet with my executive team members each once a week for a meeting with them. And then I lead the executive team meetings each week. But I participate actively in all areas of the company, and including sales. There's lots of sales that I do. I have some things that I am responsible for. Right now, it is the OEM sales for wireless BMX to lighting manufacturers. That's my particular area of sales that I work on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there it is. If you want to win the Wally Russell Award, kids, wake your ass up at 5:30, 6 o'clock.
That's right. Get to work at 6.
Half a day, as Sunday would say. 12
just
hours.
Day, just 12 hours every day.
Let's stick with Gary for this next one. So you could, because you've kind of answered this already, but the question is, how involved are you in what in deciding on what the company brings to market? How are the decisions made? And how closely do you work with the engineers on developing? I know that in the beginning it was all you. You were the salesman, you were the engineer, you were the builder. But now how does that work?
Well, we have people who are way smarter than I am, and we always have. I'm really, all my best skill is just getting smart people together. But I'm a member of the product development team, and I contribute many ideas to it. And in the beginning, the ideas all came from working in the theater. When I started my company, I was still working on Broadway shows. For the first 10 years I ran the company, I was working nights on Broadway. And all of the ideas came from what I knew was needed and that wasn't there, that other lighting manufacturers were not addressing. But even now, I still work on shows, mostly in television. I do 2 to 3 network television shows every year, working on the crew as a stagehand. And I come back with ideas of things that I know that we need, that I know the industry needs, and we invent them. So ideas come from me, my knowledge of the market, my team's knowledge of the market, from the designers and the electricians we work with every day. They bring us ideas. We compile a long list of product development ideas that we review every single day. We have a product development roadmap that we're looking at every day for present and future projects. We perform an ROI on those ideas, and we look at things that we think will bring the most value to the company. This of course is what manufacturers do. Chad, Mark, Jane all do this also. Every manufacturer does, but
Sure.
The future profits of any manufacturing company come from their product development that they're
Sure.
working on right now. So it is our role and our obligation to find products that we can work on now that will bring in our future revenue and profits. So I'm part of the team. I participated in it every day. I'm in the product development meeting every day. Every day an idea will come into the building from someone that we say, what do you think? Should we think about this? Should we develop this? And sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Sometimes it'll go on a list, and then we'll weigh those ideas. But I'd say it's probably the biggest role, or one of the biggest roles I play in the company, is participating in the type of product development that can help us grow, because it's everything. Without that, a company would just wither away.
Sure. Mark, how closely are you involved with ETC's development?
Well, we have a whole marketing group, and David Linscomb does a fantastic job. There's product managers. We have steering teams for architectural, for LEDs. So I'm a little bit involved, and if there's problems with the product, I'm very involved. So when a product first comes out, there's issues. But we have a really good group of people, and we're trying to work at least 5 years out on new products, so to be ahead of our competitors.
And Chad, can you also answer the question, but also how do you learn about what you're selling? I mean, and this is, I guess, a question for everyone. Or do you work with the engineer to learn about what you're actually selling so you can, get it out there properly?
So I'm only tangentially related to product development. We have an entire team of product managers who are whether it's an engineering background, a technical background, or they collaborate with consultants who can bring those competencies to the table. My role is to be the eyes and ears of the marketplace. Me and my team are the eyes and ears of the marketplace. If we hear of something where, gosh, there's a gap in the market that we might be able to fill, or, I think this is something we need to be focused on, and I bring that intelligence back to the team. Another role that we play as salespeople is we capture that voice of customer. If we are in the very, initial stages of development, we might pull in somebody, a trusted customer who we can say, hey, what do you think of this? Poke holes in this. What are our blind spots? That's the role of the sales team in the development process. The other half of your question, remind me, what was I supposed to answer?
Oh, no, I think you got it. Unless you want to add something else to what Mark said.
No, I'm good.
Great. Jane, how about you at your company?
Much like Chad, it's a little tangential. When our product we have a great R&D team in Germany. When they come to visit us in the States, and especially in New York, it's my responsibility often to take them around and show them how the equipment's being used, introduce them to the end users. One of the first times I did this, I made a point of showing them that it went into the hampers, and ballasts are on top of Fresnel lenses, and they had a hard time believing that their equipment would be treated this way. But it's really a matter of showing them how the equipment is treated and how it is used, and for them to see that usage, they develop new ideas. And by talking to the end users, and part of that is us communicating those needs back to the product team. And the second part of the question is, how do the salespeople learn about the new equipment and what's going on?
Yeah.
That's really relevant, because technology is changing so much right now. So, as LEDs have gained into the market, we've all had to learn LED technology. We've had to learn control. We've had to learn, I've had, one of the great things about COVID is I was able to be introduced to camera technology and hang out with one of the ARRI cameras for a while. But it's just, they really take a lot of time to focus on education with us and get us up to speed, because it's a technical world now. It's not a filament.
Yeah. And ARRI does more in the film TV world than the theater world, I imagine. Is that?
Yeah.
You find yourself more in a film studio.
Yeah.
Well, collaboration is an important reoccurring topic for us on this show. What is your relationship with people who actually use your products? Chad?
Jeff can't turn on a light if there's nobody there to make that light. And we won't make the lights if there's nobody to point them somewhere. So quite frankly, collaboration is at the heart of what we do. It's a collaborative industry. It's a collaborative experience. Most of the ideas that lead to product development come out of talking with customers or understanding customers' needs, talking about how they're using things. I consider Jeff a good friend. I love my customers. I love my experience talking to customers. I have a lot of fun surrounding myself with incredibly talented people because I don't consider myself a lighting designer, even though I did a little bit of it back in Dallas. I consider myself an admirer of lighting designers and their artistry. So my relationship with the people that use the product is one of mutual respect. And I always have more to learn. So I love being around them and trying to learn that.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. And Mark, how about you? How do you, what's your relationship with the people who use your product?
Well, our regional managers are on the ground and working with the Broadway designers and television designers and theme park designers and cruise ship designers. So there's instant feedback, which we get back to R&D, and if we need to make a change on a new product, we do that, or developing a next generation product, we do that. So there's instant feedback. Usually the instant feedback isn't like, oh, this is the greatest thing. Sometimes usually there's a problem. So you got to all hands on deck. Let's fix this right away and get things working. So, but the sales guys are usually the people out there, and the product managers also get a lot of direct feedback in the marketing group. So we got a bunch of little tentacles reaching all around to get feedback.
Right. And Jane, how about you?
It's the same as Chad and Mark. Well, more Chad than Mark, but it's getting out there and it's talking to people and hearing what they need and what they want and what's going to make their life better, and taking it back, back to the factory. Because, as Chad said, if people aren't, using the lights, there's no reason for the light.
Right. And Gary, aside from you being a stagehand on jobs every now and again, what's your relationship or with the people who use your product?
Well, I'd say my most important relationships really started with and came from the Broadway designers. When I started my company, I was a production electrician on Broadway. And when a designer would come in, I would say jokingly, before the week is over, I'd like you to give me 5 product ideas. And, it would be kind of a joke, but, they would do it. They would give me product ideas. And I was production electrician on 28 Broadway shows. I met every working important designer during that era, and they became close friends of the company, and many of them are still working today. I was production electrician for Don Holger on 2 shows. I was Ken Posner's first production electrician on his first Broadway show. And Jeff, weren't you his assistant?
I was there.
That's right. So these are friendships that are impossible to duplicate in another way. These are kind of forged in battle. And these relationships, which I cultivate and maintain even today, very, very, very carefully. These are personal friends of mine who I also do business with. And if you look at the shop order for a Broadway show, it is covered with the word City Theatrical. Every nook and cranny is called out by name, City Theatrical this and City Theatrical that. And the designers do this specifically to support us. And it means everything to us. And of course, I'm not a production electrician on Broadway, but every designer who enters my radar screen, I reach out to meet, even off Broadway. But when they enter the professional market, I want to know them, I want to get to know them, and I want to support them in every way I can. And I always tell them, I'm here to help you in any way. If you ever need anything, just call me. I will help you in any way I can. From the moment I first see their name, that's my role. And these relationships are deep and important. And to me, there's nothing more powerful than that. Also, the electricians. We work with the electricians.
Sure.
They were friends of mine, personal friends of mine when I worked together. And now, I'm a member of the local one. I'm a trainer in the local one training system, and I work with them every year, training them in wireless DMX and getting to know them and becoming friends with them. So these relationships mean, in our small industry, they mean everything.
Yeah, I will say, like, as in terms of electricians and programmers, most of my needs are filtered to people like you through them. I mean, I know the word gets out. I don't often pick up the phone, or lately haven't often picked up the phone to call. But Eric,
it's okay, call anytime.
Eric does, or Eric will call you and say, I need a thing for a thing, or any number of programmers would, when Ann was working for ETC, email, text, and call her at all hours of the day to complain about something or another.
Absolutely.
So, Mark, along the same lines, what is your relationship with rental companies? If you make a product, I know you sell to so many places all across the globe, but especially the New York market, and there's so many markets like this. If the rental companies aren't carrying your product, people aren't using it. How do you convince a rental shop to carry your product?
It's a long process. You have to first show designers, and then you have to meet with the top people at the rental company to show them the product that's reliable and the people in the back that repair it. So there's many processes and layers to sell this product into a rental house before you get them to say, okay, we're switching to this product. And we've been successful with high end. We've been very successful with ETC, very successful. And we're behind the products, and our service level is really high, which, we'll always swap it out. We'll fix it. We never argue about anything, and we're really pro customer. That's kind of our advantage there.
Yeah. And Jane?
So it really does start from the end user, and to get the rental house to carry something, the end user needs to want it and needs to use it and demand it. With ARRI, the return on investment, especially with sky panels, has been so high. It's been a very easy thing to do, thankfully. But it really comes down from the end user requesting the fixtures.
Yeah. Chad?
Yeah, I think that the majority of what Roscoe makes is purchased perishables or expendables, whatever word you use. Gel and gobos, that's less of a uphill climb. People need those tools, and they'll purchase them and consume them. The equipment that we manufacture, it's exactly what Mark and Jane said. It's if we can't get the specification from the designer, then the shop's never going to make that investment. And that sometimes becomes a real vicious cycle in that, well, I want to use it, but I can't find it anywhere, so I have to use something else. So now I don't specify it because I can't find it. And then the shop's saying, well, I'm not going to put it in until they ask for it. So it's a dance.
It is a vicious cycle. I am called out of town to see new products all the time, and I say, it's great, I love it. How do I get it? If the New York shops aren't buying it, then it's hard for me to use it.
Well, and New York is one market, right? New York is one market, but if you want it in Kansas City or Seattle, and all we did was get it into one shop in New York, it's doing you no good.
It's doing no good. That's right. Things may change now in the New York market, perhaps. Gary, how about you? It's a little different for City Theatrical because it's so specific, but.
Yeah, but the rental shops, of course, are among our very biggest customers, and we depend on them a lot. PRG, Four Wall, Christie Lights, White Light in London. We work with all of them every day, and in pre-COVID, we would be in their building every single day. We always joke we should have a desk in those buildings because we're there so much, because every show that's in there is using our gear and wants something or asks questions about something, and we're there to support them. So those shops are hugely important to us. And then, the rest of the rental shops around the country, we support them also. Now, during COVID, of course, this is a devastating period for these businesses. Their businesses are really have really suffered because there's no live entertainment now.
Sure.
So we hope that we see them regain the vibrancy that they had when we come out of COVID. Whenever that may be, no one knows when that'll be, but it's a different world now for all of us, for all manufacturers who don't have that outlet into those rental shops, is because that's where all the money was much of the money was spent in our industry.
Right.
Yeah.
The capital is gone right now. That's for sure.
You know,
Right now.
yes, yeah,
But
and for an unknown period of future time.
right.
It's going to be a while before that comes back. And when they
Yeah.
come back, they're not going to be in the buying mood.
No, they weren't all in the buying mood
Before. Exactly. It's gonna take a
no,
little
they
while.
won't be in the
But, you
buying.
know, I'll say it. Darren was a very good friend of mine, and my first day at 4-Star Lighting, this kid walked up to me and said, "Have you been working here long?" I went, "It's my first day." He went, "Hey, me too." So we started at 4-Star on the same day, and we were friends ever since.
Yeah.
And all through that period and all through the period, he ran 4-Star after that. And then, of course, for anyone who doesn't know, 4-Star, the 4-Star was the PRG of its day and later became part of PRG.
Yeah.
And then he was, of course, a big force within inside of PRG. And unfortunately, we lost him this year. But our relationship with PRG has been tremendously close, with 4-Wall tremendously close. The roots of 4-Wall, of course, coming up through Bash Lighting, Donnie Stern and Bob Cannon, very, very close, dear friends of ours.
Yeah.
So the rental, we always have a close relationship with the rental shops. White Light in London, our relationship goes back 30 years, and we're just down the road from White Light in London. We moved to that. We put our shop in that neighborhood just to be close to White Light. They're so important to us.
And originally, Century Lighting was a manufacturer of lighting, but they were also the rental house for Broadway, and then sold the equipment to 4-Star, and then 4-Star became the rental for Broadway. But Century was originally.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say Bob Cannon sits right next to me over in 4-Wall Vegas when he'd come in, and he still comes in. He came in every single day, and he would just sit there and just tell me stories about Bash and all the old days. So it's a history lesson for sure. And he
knows everything.
He's an incredible guy. I miss him a lot too. With us, he's not a Zoom kind of guy.
No.
But with that being said, it is time for the
Jeff's Roundtable Rapid Fire.
We're gonna do this
lightning round.
Lightning round here.
Lightning round.
Double points or single points?
Oh, double points. Of course, double points.
I didn't know there were points. Now I'm nervous.
All right, we're gonna start it off with Gary.
Okay, Gary. What is your favorite vacation destination? We're starting easy.
I would go to the Bahamas. I worked in the Bahamas for about 9 months on a show and lived there, and love it down there. And that's where I go on vacation.
Chad.
The mountains. I would love to just be in a quiet cabin somewhere by a fire.
Mark.
The ocean. Anywhere where there's the ocean.
Jan.
Anywhere.
Egypt. Going.
Wow.
My
That's
husband's
cool.
from there, so visiting his family. And then right before COVID hit, we were about to go and learn how to scuba dive in the Red Sea. But that's
I love the eclectic answers. Jane, sticking with you, favorite thing to do when you're not working, a hobby?
Playing outside, anywhere outside.
Mark.
I bike every day, an hour a day. I golf and fishing occasionally, but mostly golfing and biking.
Chad.
Cycling. Yeah, I ride all over Manhattan, all around the 5 boroughs. Well, I don't go to Staten Island, the 4 boroughs.
We don't want sorry, I didn't mean to say that. We love all boroughs.
Staten Island. I just don't like there.
Gary, how about you?
I like playing guitar, but even more than that, I like building guitars.
I heard this rumor that you build guitars. Okay, more on that.
Yeah,
another time, because I'm fascinated now. And I've lost my place. Gary, sticking with you, a perk that you received that people wouldn't know about, or maybe that they would know about. You get tickets to shows, backstage tours, access to movie sets, travel. What's a perk that you received?
My favorite perk is that I work in a place where I have access to every machine that there is, and I can do anything I want with it, including drive the forklift or drive the scissors lift or run the laser or the milling machine or the lathe. It's like working in a candy store.
Yeah, cool. Chad.
Travel's a big perk of being a salesperson, and getting to maybe go and see a museum one evening or see part of the city when I'm traveling. It's great.
Mark.
Yeah, I would say going to really cool places and seeing amazing theaters like the Bolshoi, Paris, Bastille Theater in Paris, and just seeing how theaters are the same all over the world, in Hong Kong and Philippines and Europe, and it's amazing. They're all theater people, and it's a global thing, and they all kind of do the same thing. It's just so interesting to me.
Just 2 degrees differently.
Exactly.
Jane.
The food, the travel and the food.
Yeah.
Really great dinners.
Yes.
That's
Jane, sticking with you. Best advice you were given by anyone?
Came from my mom. She said, do what you love and the money will follow. And I just do what I love, and I've been very fortunate.
Mark.
Work your butt off half a day, 12 hours a day, and be humble.
Chad.
Let no one work harder than you today.
Gary.
My dad told me that there are some things that you can't buy in the hardware store. If you don't have it, you have to make it.
And you've built your life around. Amazing. That's amazing. Great advice. Okay, Gary, an important skill needed to do what you do.
I would say it's risk tolerance.
Yes. Chad.
The ability to rebound when you get no for an answer.
Yeah. Mark, an important skill needed to do what you do.
Amnesia. Exactly what he said. You can't be too up that you win and be cocky, and you can't be too down when you lose. So the next day is a new day. You get back up and do it again.
Jane.
The ability to listen and understand.
Yep. And Jane, something that excites you about what you do.
The people. The people in our industry are the most incredible, kind, funny, creative people anywhere. People.
Mark.
I love training the sales guys and watching them grow up and become great salespeople. That's probably the most important thing, I would say.
Chad.
When somebody calls with a problem and I'm able to help craft a solution and help get them over that hump, so that they can get on with being creative people. That's the highlight of my career.
Yeah. Gary.
I like making things. I like to get a chance to make things in the shop.
Gary, favorite industry innovation other than something you created or sold?
I would have to say it's DMX. It is everything. Everything that we do comes from the decision to implement a standard that allowed all equipment to work together, and the entire growth of the industry came from that.
Chad.
That's a tough one to beat. I was going to say wireless DMX, not to.
Well, you can say that because
Gary's ego.
Gary makes that stuff. So.
No, I think wireless DMX and the ability to send that signal across the room or across the field or wherever is brilliant.
Mark.
I'd say DMX also, but also LEDs in theater for color changing and all those types of things. It's just been fantastic.
Yeah. Jane.
What's coming next, and I really am excited by all the innovations. Right now, mixed reality is just, production is just so fascinating. But again, it's on the basis of DMX and communication. It's what's making it happen.
So Jane, here's the next one, the 2-part question. Something that has gone away that you miss and something you were happy to see go.
What I'm happy to see go is hot lights. But there's not too much that I miss right now. So.
Great. Mark.
I hate to say this, but a lot of the people I used to work with have passed away. And as you get older, that's the really sad part. It's the people that we've lost. But the products, it was good to get rid of analog and hot lights and old lights that didn't work. I'm glad they're in the museum hidden away so no one can get harmed by them.
Great answer. Chad.
I might have to say the same thing for both questions. I'm sad that coloring doesn't exist anymore.
I loved coloring.
I love that it doesn't exist anymore, but it's noxious, costly. But the the ability to have a colored light bulb was awesome. And there's not really anything that does that now.
Yeah,
I agree.
There are some Roscoe lean colors that I still miss. Gary.
Okay, well, we'll stay on the topic of gel. The thing that I miss, one thing that I miss, which was iconic, was walking into a theater and smelling burning gel. This was the smell of backstage. This was the smell of the theater. It was everywhere, and it's gone now. It doesn't exist.
You don't smell that now.
No one even knows it's not there because they haven't experienced it. That was the smell of theater. The thing I don't miss is A-frame ladders.
Yeah.
So they were
A-frame with a stick.
with a stick. Standing on the top of a stick of an A-frame ladder, focusing at 35 feet in the air was a bad experience. So I don't miss that at all.
That's a great answer. I know it's amazing that more people didn't fall from those things. I've actually seen it, and then I caught the tail end of it, and I saw 2 people fall from A-frames. Barry, sticking with you, favorite part of your job?
The biggest thrill that we all get, and we comment on this often, when we visualize something that we want to do, when we meet and we say we want to create this thing, and here's what it's going to look like, and here's what it's going to do, and then we set out to do it, and some years will go by, and we launch it, and then it works, and we go, wow, we did what we said we would do. We visualized it, we planned it, we created it, we made it, and that was our plan. It happened just the way we wanted it to. That is one of the biggest thrills that I ever get.
Chad.
Moments where we get to give back. The Hemsley internship programs is sponsored by Roscoe since its inception. We recently got to rename the Gobo for Hal Binkley, and it's those moments that make that are kind of the payoff for the relationships that we have with the industry, and it's the feel good moment, and that's the best. That's the best.
Yeah, Mark.
Making the revenue numbers. That is like my dream. Exceeding. And if there's a job that we lost and it comes back and you get it, it tastes even sweeter.
I love that answer. It's honest. I love the honest answer.
Yes.
Jane.
The moment that, we still work a lot with students, and the moment that they understand something and their world just explodes because of something that seems very simple to me or us, but it's just groundbreaking for them. The light bulb goes off, literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. More lighting puns. It's been a show of lighting puns. I love it. Jane, where do you want to travel? First place you want to travel after COVID restrictions are relaxed?
Well, I'm in Colorado now, but I'm socially isolating here. So does that count?
Sure.
Okay.
Mark.
Yeah, I want to get back to Austin because I'm also the sales manager for High-End Systems, and I haven't been there since March. So I'd like to get there, and also out to Hong Kong to the Asia office.
Chad.
London. My team in London is amazing, and they're really doing a good job holding down the fort, but I need to get over there and give them some support and continue building our global my global role, since I've only been in it. I was in it for maybe 5 months before the shutdown, so
it'll still be there for you. Gary.
I wouldn't care if I never traveled again. I've done so much traveling. I've been to Europe 130 times. I've been to China many, many, many times, and all over this country over and over and over and over again. And I don't miss traveling now. There are places in the world that I like, but they were adventures, and I've had the adventures. And I don't know that I would really look forward to a vigorous travel routine, but I will say, I had COVID early on, and I've been traveling through this crisis. I've been to California a number of times, and Florida So I've been around. I haven't stopped my traveling. I'm certainly not, staying at home.
Well, this is a great segue out of rapid fire. Can you tell us? Can you tell us a little bit about how your life is different now and the company life is different now during the pandemic? And can you tell us what happened when the pandemic first started? What was going on behind the scenes? Can you give us a little timeline about what has happened over the last 8 months and how things have changed? Gary, let's start with you.
Yeah. Well, in around April 1st, we had COVID in the factory, and many people got sick. I got sick, brought it home. My wife got sick, but so many people were sick that we closed the factory for 3 weeks. We didn't have enough people to run the machinery, so we closed the factory. We reopened again in April, and we put in, a very, very vigorous return to work plan. We put in a testing program. We were among the first companies, probably in the country, to have required testing to return to work, and then periodic testing, which we still do. So we actually faced COVID early on, and I would say that we have reached herd immunity in City Theatrical. 80% of our staff has had COVID. We don't. And because of that, no one worries too much about it. Although we're very careful for the people who haven't had it.
Yeah.
But having had it, I'm not afraid to go to the store. I'm not afraid to go outside. I'm not afraid to leave my house. And I often talk to people who didn't have it, who are really careful and afraid and don't want to do anything. I'm not. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare most of the people who work with us. We brought everyone back to work pretty early on, maybe in July or so. We brought everyone back to the factory, and even the ones who didn't want to do it, we made them come back. There's no one working from home. Mm-hmm. I felt we lost a lot having people work from home because you don't get the moment-to-moment conversations of what someone's talking about on the phone to a customer, or can't ask questions to each other. And it's a much, plus I felt our culture lost a lot by not having us together. Because we have a lot of symbolism, rituals, celebrations, and I felt we had to regain those. We have a monthly meeting. I wanted the monthly meeting. I wanted everyone in the building when we had the monthly meeting, celebrating birthdays and celebrating anniversaries of employment, and just talking to people. And we utilize open book management. It's important for us to put out the charts and the books and have people understand how we're doing, and it just can't be done remotely. So
it's hard to say that you guys are lucky for having had COVID early, but I guess you're lucky for being early adopters. Because you're able to get back to work.
That's our story. It's different for everyone, but that's what we went through.
Yeah. Chad, how about Roscoe?
Yeah. Before I dive into Roscoe, Gary, I got to say the communication that came out of City Theatrical about your process early in this crisis, and about the stopgaps you put in place and the return to work protocol, I thought your tone in your communications about it was right on the money, because it was honest, it was transparent, it was direct, and it always had a glimmer of tomorrow, a glimmer of hope. And so I want to congratulate you on that, by the way. With Roscoe, we in March recognized the real impact this was going to have on our global revenue. We made the most difficult decisions we possibly could in deciding who we would need to furlough or lay off, and we reduced the workforce significantly. The intention was cut once very deeply, don't cut multiple times, because we didn't want people thinking, well, maybe the next round is me. So we dramatically reduced our workforce in every department, and we determined we would streamline so that we could sustain our business. We worked in the negative numbers for a couple of months, several months. Finally started breaking even later in the summer, late summer, early fall, and are in the rebuild process. We've been able to bring some folks back. Some folks are back not in the job they had beforehand, because that job isn't ready to be populated yet. But we know we've got some great people. One of Roscoe's greatest assets has always been our people. And we want to get those people back on the bus and back working as quickly
Sure.
as possible.
Absolutely. Jane, how about you?
So when COVID, because we are a worldwide company, our Asian office was affected very early. From the get-go, ARRI Germany has been very concerned with, keeping the employees healthy, keeping them on. I mean, we spent a lot of time getting our team strong and healthy and, also, able to do their jobs. So we did have to furlough a fair number of people. In other parts of the world, they went into short work weeks. But that, as Chad was saying, in the beginning, in the August, September area, things started picking up. And now that production is happening again, we're doing fairly well right now. We brought almost everyone back. What did change a lot, and I am very thankful for it, is all the remote communication, because having people all over the place, I'm able to have meetings now with people in LA, New York, Chicago, and at one time instead of having to do multiple meetings. And so it's really made us a tighter team and a more cohesive team.
Yeah. And Mark?
Yeah, it was difficult, having over 1,000 employees. We had to furlough people. We still had to manufacture. We had to take the admin people and salespeople out of the factory, get the factory safe. Luckily, not a lot of people got COVID, and they did in Hong Kong and Germany, Italy. They got COVID, so we had to furlough a lot of people. We offered early retirement with a payout for some people, and we slowly brought people back. Luckily, our pipeline, we do a lot of projects. It's not all box product for us. So a lot of these architectural projects are still going, and that funded us to keep going. So we only took like a 20 or 30% hit on the revenue, which is still a lot, but we were able to cut expenses. Like trade shows and travel are huge expenses. Yeah. And since we're not doing that, that kind of helped us save money at the same time.
Right.
I love a great segue, Mark. So we'll stay with you. What are you doing to make up for the lack of trade shows? How are you launching your products?
A lot of it's web stuff, but we also do live demos. So you could go on our website and book a demo on anything, and someone will go into the studio and do a demonstration for you. In fact, they did it. An end user requested a demo of a product, and the guy was sitting there in his pajamas on his couch while we did the demo for him. It was
very
really
nice,
funny. Yeah, but it's like
put my clothes on, I think.
Right, we get requests from all over the place, but we have a studio set up in London, in Middleton, and also at High End. So we'll do demos, training. It's all web-based now. Everything's done through the web. And
Chad? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Similar. Same. I think the first sort of sprint initiative we put into place, even when this started as early as May, was we recognized the need for studios. So we created video studios in our Stamford headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. We created one in Lyon, France, where our DMG Lumiere brand is designed and ships out of. And then we've got a small presence in LA, not quite a full studio, but we can do video demos. That's what we're really focused on. Fortunately, Roscoe has not had the need to launch any products yet.
Sure.
Stay tuned. We've got something up our sleeve, but when we launch it, it'll be a virtual launch, and there'll be a virtual launch party of some sort that you'll be invited to attend. And we hope it's as good as doing a trade show. I'll tell you, I never thought I would miss trade shows, but I actually do.
Oh, wow.
Well, there's a follow-up question here that I'm going to get to. Jane, what are you guys doing to take the place?
So there's the orbiter in the background, and I don't think that one. So we have we're all doing remote demos from our home. We've all figured out how to do a virtual demo. We've figured out how to allow someone access from somewhere else into this fixture here. So we've really just figured out how to do things remotely. The Orbiter, we were about to launch in April due to COVID and just get, all the issues with COVID. It had to be delayed until, we didn't start shipping until September. So it's just, you do it online, you do it virtually.
And Gary, how about you? Into Theatrical.
Well, first of all, I don't miss the trade shows. I'm glad we're not doing them. It's a tremendous savings, like Mark said, just an astronomical amount of money. So, that's a huge boost for us. But one decision we made early in COVID was we did not cut our product development expenditures. We kept our entire product development team on. We kept launching products through the whole period. And one of the products we launched, one of the products that was in development that we launched in November was a film and video product. So we are kind of re-aiming over into the film and video world with these products because they're busy, they're active, they're spending, as opposed to theater, which is not active. So we are entering the film and video market with some products that we're glad that we kept our product development going. Cool products, neat stuff. And we're actually, now how we're doing that mostly is through email marketing and through our webinars. Early on in COVID, we said we got nothing to do. Let's make some webinars on wireless DMX. We've done 8, our 9th one's coming up soon. And steadily we have been pushing our wireless, our multiverse wireless DMX over and over, hundreds and hundreds. If any of you guys get our email marketing, you know how many emails we send out. It's nearly every day. We reinforce the word multiverse. We reinforce what we're doing over and over. And as you know, it costs nothing. So, we took all the money we spent on trade shows, we put it into product development so we can continue growing.
So that brings up maybe an unpopular question, not unpopular for this group, but it will be unpopular for some people. Are you going to go back to trade shows? This is a collective group question.
Yes, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I would love to go back to trade shows under different conditions. And, this is a bigger discussion because I'm on a couple of the committees in the industry that, that plan the industry trade shows. But I think, we have, as an industry, have overspent on trade shows for far too long. I miss seeing our colleagues and friends, but I don't miss the money that we needlessly spent.
Needlessly.
And I wish there was some way that we could see our friends and colleagues without spending a ridiculous amount of money to do it.
Yeah, Roscoe had already decided our fiscal year was from July 1 wrapping to June 30. And so last fiscal year, which was not into COVID until March, we had decided not to do trade shows for a year. We were going to take a year off. We did not do LDI. We were not intending to do USITT. And we didn't do a lot of the other shows in the film and TV industry, the architecture industry. There were 22 major trade shows globally that Roscoe was participating in annually.
Wow.
And you got to think that many trade shows and the dollars and cents that goes into it, it cripples other marketing initiatives you want to do. And so I personally miss the seeing the friends. I personally miss engaging with the clients. And that's where I practice my spiel when I have a new thing to talk about. That's where I get to really get well versed on it because you do it over and over again ad nauseum for 3 days. But we took a year off anyway and recognized that model perhaps is not the model of the future.
You saved a fortune too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've all said this, we're rethinking, present site trade shows and how to do trade shows more effectively.
And there are too many.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do one every
and we spend too much.
Well, if you guys do, maybe we'll have another party. We can all get together.
That's better.
That's always a fun party. That's always a very fun party.
Well, we kind of went over time here, but let's just kind of wrap it up. Work aside, what have you been doing during the shutdown? Anything that you've ignored? Anything that you kind of starting to do, like a hobby or anything? Chad?
I have really enjoyed getting to learn mixology and how to make a really good cocktail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Smart man.
All right. Well, you're hired for the four-wall party. Thank you, Chad. Jane, how about you?
I've been able to go and play outside every day. And this month in Colorado would never happen without COVID. So I'm so thankful.
Right. I think we have a couple pics of you on your hike,
Cool.
which
That's
is
right.
really nice.
It's cold.
Mark, how about you?
I have biked on all the bike trails around the entire city of Madison. I know every pebble, every branch, every outhouse, everything, all the way around the city. So it's been fruitful for me.
Awesome.
For the
And Gary?
future.
Yeah, definitely. Gary?
Well, I play my guitar a lot, but this year my big goal is I am reading the 50 greatest novels.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Ooh.
Can you
Well,
email
here's
me that list?
There's Gary.
I can, yeah, I will.
Guitar.
Yeah, that is an archtop jazz guitar.
How do we get a
Lord.
Gary Fails custom-made guitar? Where's that website?
Well, they take a while to build. That took about a year and a half.
And will it have wireless DMX?
It's got to be wireless.
It's got to be wireless.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Drew, were there pictures that we wanted to show, or did anyone
I
send
talked
me?
about drinking instead of my hobby picture that I sent in. I also
What
write
was your-
a lot.
Oh yeah, there's
But I cooked. That was a great like chicken meatball Thai soup kind of recipe.
That's some great
Cool.
COVID hair going on there.
And then some crazy COVID hair going on.
here. Yeah, we have some
Ooh,
Terry, Steve Terry.
Yeah, we were
Wow.
teenagers.
that's great. Who sent that picture in? I love it.
Gary.
Gary, it's great.
Yeah, I sent that one in.
Yeah,
Fred Foster and Gary.
yeah.
Yeah.
At a trade
Oh,
show.
man, I definitely
Of
got to
course,
show
at
this.
a trade show. That's my promo for my VP of sales job in 1997. So that's my promo shot there. Yeah. I didn't have gray hair. Once you're involved with revenue and profit, your hair goes white. Instantly goes white.
I got a little bit in here. Yeah.
Right. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been at this a long time, so we're going to ask one more question, one more short answer question on the way out. What advice do you have for people who want to do what you want to do? Mark, let's start with you.
Thing is to work with as many people as possible, because one person that you work with will become famous or will get a great gig. And if they remember you as being a great worker and a nice person, they will take you along with them, and then you'll move up. Because your path is a zigzag, so you have to kind of jump from here to there to here to there. But the trick is with making connections with people.
The zigzag is a great analogy that I've never heard before, but that's exactly what the path is. It is a zigzag.
It's not a straight line.
No. Gary.
I would say be in control of your own life. That's why I always wanted to work for myself. I didn't want anybody else ever to tell me what to do. I wanted to make my own decisions and take my own chances. And also, I'd say be aware that it's never too late to do something, even, no matter how old you are. I didn't graduate from college till I was 50. And, I ran my first marathon when I was 55. I've run 12 marathons now. You can do things later in life. You don't have to do them when you're young. There's plenty of time to do many things.
Were you a runner before you started running marathons, or did you just
I was an athlete when I was a kid, but I was never a distance runner. And I just decided one day that I wanted to try it. And I did it. I ran 8 marathons for my 60th birthday, for the year of my 60th birthday. And,
There's hope for all of us. There you go.
It's never too late to start, believe me.
Jane, how about you?
Don't be afraid to take risks. Talk to everyone and just do it. Really, just.
Yeah.
Nike, just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Move forward.
Yeah, I would say don't ever think about the job you want to have. Don't ever ask yourself, what do you want to be or what do you want to do? Ask yourself how you want to be. Ask yourself the quality of life that's important to you. If you want a job where you are going to have your nights and weekends off, maybe a production electrician isn't the right job for you. If you want a job where you get a paycheck every week, maybe a freelance position isn't the right job for you. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that lifestyle. That's right for those people. But don't ask what do you want to do? Ask how you want to be, because I think that question will set you up for success in a lot of the life choices you can make.
It's a great answer. Thanks, everyone. So before we sign off, Paul Kilsdonk asked a question that we're not going to bring into the panel, but if you guys see it and you want to answer him in the chat, we always try to get Paul's excellent questions in, but I'm sorry, Paul, we didn't get to it this time. Before we sign off, any additions, retractions, anything else anyone wants to add before we go? You guys are amazing.
It was fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Thank everybody so
Great
much.
group.
And everybody set your alarm for 5:30 in the morning and do a little Gary Tales tomorrow.
We got to get up before Gary tomorrow.
Get
Yeah,
up,
you know-
that's my motto. Get up before Gary.
Best time of day.
Yeah, but thank you again, everybody. It's been great. And for the viewers, we'll be back next weekend. It's kind of the final show of the year. And then so look out for that. Thank you again, everybody. And we will see everybody later.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.